Evening to everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Balvinder Dang. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Datavid, and I'm delighted to welcome you all to this session on upgrading MarkLogic from whichever version you are on to 11 or 12. At Datavid, we specialize in helping organizations unlock the full value of their data with cutting-edge AI and data management solutions. We are proud to be a trusted MarkLogic partner. In fact, we are honored to be named the Progress MarkLogic Partner of the Year for both 2024 and 2025. Our team brings deep expertise in complex data challenges, from large scale migration and modernization projects to building intelligent knowledge solutions that drive faster insight and lowers the total cost of ownership. We are working with leading enterprise across life sciences, financial services, publishing, and public sector to make their data more connected, more accessible, and more valuable. Today, we'll be sharing why now is the right time to move forward with upgrading MarkLogic to version 11.3 or 12, and how Datavid can help you get there smoothly and very quickly, ensuring your organization benefits from the latest innovations in performance, security, and building new data-driven, AI-driven capabilities. So with that, let's get started, and I would like to introduce all of you to our colleague, Lech Rzedzicki. Over to you, Lech.
All right. Thank you, Balvinder. Thank you. Just to introduce myself, my name is Lech Rzedzicki. You can call me Lech. Prior to working at Datavid, I actually spent 10 years working in MarkLogic support, initially as a support engineer and later running the whole support organization globally. So I know firsthand how difficult the MarkLogic upgrade can sometimes be. And this is exactly why we decided to record a webinar explaining what are the benefits, what are the potential risks, and what is actually involved in doing a MarkLogic upgrade. So the most important time about this is that MarkLogic 10 is entering what Progress MarkLogic call the sunset phase, meaning there will be no new patches or upgrades or any library updates. Another good reason is that actually MarkLogic 12 was recently introduced, and it has a bunch of very relevant and very timely features. Basically, the MarkLogic 12 release focuses on features related to artificial intelligence. So it has new algorithms and new ways to store data related to LLMs, but it also has improvements in terms of how you run MarkLogic and how you watch after your cluster. So my personal view and the view of Datavid is that the sooner you upgrade, the more risks you remove, and it also enables you to create more value with your MarkLogic solution. You can add new AI or analytics features with dynamic scaling, for example. You can also reduce the cost of running your cluster. So actually, you can look at your upgrade as both as a risk reduction strategy, as a cost-saving measure, and also from compliance perspective, it's a bit of a no-brainer that you pretty much have to upgrade. Without further ado, I would like to drill into some of the new features in MarkLogic 12, which are actually all good arguments to upgrade, and perhaps you will find something that you find useful for yourself. The first area is search improvements. There's improvements in the sort of more traditional sense of the search, but also specific searches related to AI specifically. So there is native vector search, which means you can add embeddings to your content, and you have a specific index inside of MarkLogic, which then allows you and a set of vector API calls that allow you to traverse this index. Another very interesting feature that I will also cover a little bit more in depth is virtual views, which is mostly for data analytics that are ad hoc. Another sort of recent addition is the shortest path graph algorithm, which is taken originally, it's actually taken from, how the networks were designed. So your internet traffic is routed via the shortest path algorithm. But it's actually very useful for finding, similarity, for running similarity searches and similar kind of solutions. So it also has now native support in MarkLogic 12. And there's also other updates. For example, you can use BM25 cert scoring, and there's also updated stemming languages for MarkLogic 12. So something to consider when upgrading. So let me go through these sort of one by one. So virtual views is exactly for the ad hoc sort of analytical, maybe Power BI kind of use case. So typically in MarkLogic 9, the best way to interact with a sort of SQL or a BI tool was using a feature called template-driven extraction. And that unfortunately meant that you had to create a view, and that view created a new index, and that index meant that you had to reindex the whole database for the new view to be visible and useful. What virtual views give you is that actually the values are extracted at query time. So it's a little maybe slower because it's not from an index. It's not from a specific index, but it can actually be from the universal index sometimes. So it's not always slower. And actually, the virtual views can be specified for the entire view or just at a column level. So if you have a complex query, you can actually combine virtual and traditional views and columns in your query. So it means any existing, traditional sort of materialized views that you had previously in your TDs, you can combine with the new feature. So this is really kind of exciting because if you're thinking of implementing a new feature, or if you're just exploring the data and you don't know where it is, the virtual views let you explore this very quickly. You don't have to wait days for an error index. You can just do an ad hoc query, and all that remains in production. That you once you're happy with your structure and how your views are specified, then you can actually turn them into materialized views. So very exciting feature. I think it's going to be particularly useful for developer teams and sort of admin personnel, and also business intelligence teams. So very much looking forward to using this feature more. Another feature is sort of native embeddings in in MarkLogic. So there is a new type of index for embedding sort of LLM distances. And basically, this means you can again, MarkLogic is already a multi-model database. But with this addition, it means you can use MarkLogic as a RAG type solution or a sort of hybrid search engine where some of your results come directly from traditional search, or maybe one of the new algorithms that MarkLogic 12 brings, and the rest is actually from the LLM. Or you can also, store certain qualities about the LLM search results in your database and combine those. So again, if you're considering any type of AI use in your projects, in your company, you should definitely upgrade to MarkLogic 12 because that's an enabling kind of feature that it can be used very widely. So just one last sentence on the sort of search improvements. Like I said, the shortest path and the BM25, they're also like very, very useful for, I don't have a specific slide for them, but they they have a very wide use. You can use them for use cases like similarity searches, distance between two keywords. So You no longer have to search for like an exact keyword match, but you can find content that's related to the content you're looking at, but not by words, but by meaning, sort of. So that's another very, very exciting feature in MarkLogic 12. Now, moving on to the improvements in the infrastructure and sort of DevOps side of MarkLogic. The new features are around dynamic hosts, which means you can scale your cluster up and down more easily. There is improvements in the admin UI. There's statistics about index memory usage. And there is now finally a full support for Red Hat 9 and also Amazon Linux 2023, which basically, gives again a lot more sort of future proofing for MarkLogic. So specifically on AWS, there's also improvements in the CloudFormation templates, and it's basically means that you can manage your cluster more easily, but it's also much more stable. With using Amazon Linux 2023, it also means you receive the latest security updates, all the patches, and it's officially supported by Amazon. Prior to MarkLogic 12, the image was based on Amazon Linux 2, which is now deprecated. So really, if you want to stay on AWS and if you want to basically continue receiving security updates for the OS part of it, you really have to consider upgrading to MarkLogic 12 and beyond. Drilling into the dynamic host feature, MarkLogic has two types of nodes, evaluator nodes, also known as e-nodes, and data nodes that actually have storage attached to them. So dynamic hosts are a type of e-node, evaluator node, so they do not store data directly, but they do have all the index data in memory. So depending on the type of query, your query will be fetched immediately from the e-node, from the dynamic host, if it's in the index, and if not, the evaluator node still helps with the computation part. But just do bear in mind that the dynamic host feature for now is purely for the evaluator nodes. Still, it's a great improvement because unlike previously, the dynamic hosts do not participate in the quorum, so there will not be a situation where your entire cluster goes offline if you remove too many nodes. And also bear in mind that MarkLogic 12 provides a general capability of adding and removing dynamic hosts, but how you do that, there is no instrumentation around that. So this is one excellent example where you might want a partner like Datavid, because there are no scripts or tools for AWS or Azure or Kubernetes where it would actually help you with the other side of adding these nodes. So whenever you add a dynamic host, you also need to update MarkLogic configuration, add the node to the cluster, make sure they're running the correct keys and certificates. So Datavid already has experience with this, so we can definitely help with implementing the dynamic host feature. And what this means that if you have predictable sort of usage pattern where you are anticipating a higher load and don't necessarily need the entire capacity 100% of the time, especially on the cloud, you can reduce the cost of running your cluster significantly because you can just spin up your dynamic host when needed, or perhaps when you have some long-running jobs, or if you have some analytical queries, then you just spin up the dynamic host just to run those queries or reports. Or in case of many MarkLogic customers, they have, for example, peak season around Black Friday, and during those times, they will just spin up more hosts temporarily for a few days or weeks, and for the rest of the year, you can save a lot of money. So this is a great feature. It has been a long time sort of coming, and it's finally here in MarkLogic 12. Another, maybe not advertised feature that's in MarkLogic 12 is finally surfacing the index memory usage. So in a typical MarkLogic cluster, especially on the cloud, where all the resources are metered and you pay for every megabyte of memory, um, having the index memory shown at the admin UI level means that you know which indexes are taking up most memory. You can then check if they're actually even used. Makes it much more easy to manage your memory usage. From my experience, in MarkLogic, memory is very often the bottleneck and the main sort of limiting factor in terms of like performance and how much it costs to run a MarkLogic cluster. So having an easy view on index memory lets you sort of optimize your cluster size. Okay, the admin UI has the improvements around around the index memory usage, but also some smaller um, ease of life improvements. Like, for example, you can sort your forests. You can you can also see which forests are offline. So the admin UI has some small sort of ease of life improvements. You should be also aware that there has been many like patches and upgrades in MarkLogic 12. So, for example, the JavaScript engine has been upgraded to the new V8. So something to consider when upgrading that you also have to consider for compatibility is if you have any JavaScript code, you should also worry about that. But in general, the improvements around the sort of admin UI and DevOps is very much on the plus side. It's basically a lot easier to manage your cluster. It's potentially a cost saving with the dynamic host feature, and you can more easily see what's happening on the cluster with the small improvements in the admin UI. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, I said that basically an upgrade is a necessity, right? However, there are risks. And again, I think here is the exact sort of scenario where bringing in a trusted partner like Datavid is a good choice that will actually end up saving you money because you don't, we have a proven framework. We have done these upgrades many times with multiple clients. So we have lessons learned. We have repeatable sort of scripts and best practices and a framework for upgrading. But just to sort of explain how much is involved in that, we have considered risks around security, making sure that that all the certificates are backed up and they're all sort of in place, and that there is no downtime. You have to make sure that everyone has the correct sort of access. The big consideration in the upgrade is potential incompatibilities in your code. So if you have any application level code that's written on top of MarkLogic, both in MarkLogic 11 and 12, there have been sort of backward incompatible changes. So one example I mentioned earlier was the JavaScript sort of update of V8. But another example is, for example, the stemming for different languages. So, for example, German language and quite a few others in MarkLogic 12 have new stemming dictionaries. So if you're using the stemming function, you have to test your code whether it still works the same way as it did previously. So typically, you also have to worry about platform compatibility. In MarkLogic 11 to 12 upgrade, there is not much issue. For example, if you're running Red Hat 8, you can still upgrade in place. But if you're upgrading from an older version like MarkLogic 9, that's maybe still running Red Hat 7 or something like that, you also have to consider, when are you going to be upgrading your OS? And another issue that I mentioned earlier in the context of the AWS is that older installations of MarkLogic have been running Amazon Linux 2, and you pretty much have to upgrade from Amazon Linux 2 to Amazon Linux 2023. And if you want to do this, you have to be running MarkLogic 11 or 12 at the least. So from that perspective, an upgrade of MarkLogic is necessary if you want to upgrade the OS. A similar scenario is also has to be considered when you're looking at tools and frameworks. So many customers are running a framework called Data Hub, right, which is basically a layer on top of MarkLogic Server. And if you're running a particularly old version of Data Hub framework, then again, that only runs on older MarkLogic servers. And if you want to upgrade to MarkLogic 12, you also have to upgrade the Data Hub framework. And that brings its own incompatibilities, which again, in Datavid, we have familiarity with. And we can help with, updating the code, make sure it goes smoothly, to write test coverage, et cetera, et cetera. And finally, another big upgrade risk is, considerations for downtime, whether you want to, whether you can allow a maintenance window where your cluster is offline, or whether you want to do a rolling upgrade, which is actually possible with the recent versions of MarkLogic, so we can avoid the downtime entirely. And again, we have done this multiple times, and it's sort of in our DNA that we have the scripts to do it, and we can automate both the upgrade itself, so it literally takes seconds or minutes, and also we have proven backup plans if there's any contingency or if there's like unsatisfactory performance results after the upgrade. So all these should be considered when you're doing a MarkLogic upgrade. So if you want to drill a little deeper, we have actually published an upgrade checklist, and we in that sort of checklist we cover the steps that we propose, a sort of framework where we of how an engagement for an upgrade exercise could look like, where we first gather the requirements, we do some preparation and testing in dev and QA environments, then there is like additional validation and staging. And again, this is not a hypothetical framework. This is built on top of our experience with upgrading major customers having petabytes of data. So this has been proven in production, has been very successful, and we have brought accolades for that. Perhaps this is one of the reasons why Datavid has been chosen to be EMEA MarkLogic Partner of the Year, both for 2024 and 2025. That we have been successful with so many of these projects. But definitely have a look at the upgrade checklist, and like I said, in the checklist, we are drilling down into how much is actually involved into doing a MarkLogic upgrade that covers both the infrastructure, the considerations for the application code, dependencies on the third-party systems and how they integrate. So it's not necessarily that the MarkLogic upgrade itself is difficult. It's actually pretty simple. But because often MarkLogic interacts with dozens, if not hundreds of other systems up and downstream, a MarkLogic upgrade should consider all these variables. And again, I feel like Datavid here is an excellent partner for helping you with such a project. Okay, so one last thing I wanted to cover is how Progress MarkLogic approaches their release lifecycle. So whenever there's three types of releases. There's kind of early access innovation releases that are like trial releases. MarkLogic 12.0 is actually still considered like an innovation release, but it's stable. But what it is not is it's not a long-term support release, right? So something again to consider in the life cycle. that some more conservative customers, for example, tend to upgrade to the long-term support releases and only would upgrade to MarkLogic 12, perhaps when there is a long-term support version of MarkLogic 12, right? But fear not, because it's very simple you can actually upgrade to MarkLogic 12 today. It's very stable, it's been tested. But if you want, you can upgrade from, MarkLogic 9 to 11, and then MarkLogic from 11 to 12 is very easy. You can actually upgrade, all the way from MarkLogic 9 to 12 as well. It's entirely depends on your requirements, and we are here to help you choose the right option for you and when to do it. And if by working with us you get a framework, then you can have a repeatable process that is not scary and that is fairly easy to use. So basically, just wanted to say that as of today, there is a long-term support a MarkLogic 11.3 release, and there is an innovation release of MarkLogic 12 that is, however, production ready and considered stable. So depends on what your use case is and whether you need the new features. You should upgrade to MarkLogic 11 or 12, but you should upgrade today because there is end of life for MarkLogic Server 9 already, and the end of life, this so-called sunset phase, is coming to MarkLogic 10 in a few months. To summarize, upgrading MarkLogic is necessary, but also, as I explained, with the many new features in MarkLogic 12, is actually a benefit in many areas. Expertise from Datavid can help you, and we can partner with you and accelerate the upgrade. And because of our experience, it can actually be a cost-saving measure for you, because you will avoid downtime and you can make the upgrade go quickly. And perhaps you can also implement new features like the dynamic scaling, which is going to save you money over the long term. Thank you for listening to me. Feel free to get in touch, and we are really looking forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for joining us today, and a special thanks to Lech for walking us through the new features in MarkLogic 12 and highlighting the key considerations for a successful upgrade. As Lech mentioned, at Datavid we have a very experienced team. Many of us are ex-MarkLogic consultants. That means we understand this technology in depth, from the Data Hub framework to the core platform, and we know how to deliver smooth, low-risk upgrades. We have seen that moving to MarkLogic 11.3 or 12 is not just about staying current. It's about unlocking stronger performance, tighter security, and exciting new capabilities. Features like native vector support and advanced knowledge graph functionality open the door to a powerful AI-driven use cases, helping your organizations do more with your data. If you'd like to continue the conversation, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be delighted to discuss your specific needs and how we can support you in your next steps. On behalf of the entire Datavid team, thank you once again for your time today.